And now it's time for today's daily forecast with EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Martridge.
Good Thursday morning to you. It is September 13th, 2018. We have a lot going on today. One of them, of course, being the main attraction here, which is Hurricane Florence. And we also have our region locally that we're going to concentrate on first before we get into Florence. And we do have some showers across the northern parts of our region today, across the Poconos. That'll take place this morning, some scattered showers, and then I do think that moves out by noon. Actually, let me get over the NAM high-res future simulated radar so you can take a look at what we're seeing here. And we have a few showers that are going to be taking place this morning. This is looking at 8 o'clock this morning, and then it will quickly fall apart and dissipate through the course of the morning. This is a look at noon. You really don't have too much left. You're just remaining cloudy or mostly cloudy in the afternoon. Might have a few peaks of sun involved in here as well, and which would be nice. We haven't seen sun in a while, or maybe some southern areas did yesterday, but it was very brief. And we won't have that same repeat of those training heavy showers that we're taking. Well, I can't really call them showers. Heavy rain that was falling over southeastern Pennsylvania up into central Jersey yesterday. I don't think we see a repeat of that today, but we are going to keep an isolated threat for a shower in the forecast. Just a few spotty stuff, things popping up here during the course of the afternoon and evening. Overall, not a big deal. Just a few spotty showers here and there, isolated. We'll keep it, and they should be on the lighter side for the most part. So that's today. Going back to the global models now, and this is looking at Thursday morning. And you can see how close this is to the coast. This is now a Category 2 hurricane. I purposely waited for the National Hurricane Center advisory to come out at 11 p.m. to see if they downgraded, because this thing just took a beating today, especially on the southern side. The northern side is still pretty intact. The southern side got ripped apart, and I'll show you exactly what happened with that. But that's not really the focus. Going from Category 4 to Category 2 just deals with the wind speeds. Your surge and your rainfall amounts, which are the number 1 and number 2 worst parts of a hurricane in order. Third would be wind. Okay, so the surge is going to be the same. Some of these surge forecasts of 9 to 13 feet right along the nearest points of landfall, or just to the northeast of that eye wall when it comes in. Those are incredible amounts. That's if you take normally dry ground and you add 10 feet or more of water on top of where it's normally dry. That's pretty deep. That's pretty bad, and that goes all the way up to the second floor of some homes and might even inundate completely a first floor home, like a ranch home or something like that, or any mobile homes or anything like that would be completely inundated. So the rain obviously is a very big issue too. That's probably second on the list, and in this case there's projections here of over 20 inches for a very large area from eastern North Carolina all the way down into South Carolina, and some places nearest the coast actually are projecting close to 30, if not even more, on some models. The state record for North Carolina is a little over 24 inches, so those kind of amounts of rain would be unprecedented for the state of North Carolina. So this is a big deal, folks, and that's your number 1 and 2 killers associated with hurricanes. The surge is 1, number 2 would be the flooding rainfall, and 3 would be the wind. Now, the wind did take a step back. It was 140 miles per hour. Now we're down to 110 as the time this video was recorded. And it is expected to maintain that intensity all the way up to just about landfall, according to the new National Hurricane Center projection. So they're not expecting any re-intensification. It is possible we could see it jump up to 115 or 120 or something like that. But again, this is not the important part in the grand scheme of things. It's the surge and the flooding. Okay, so now with that being said, we're going to go forward here, and you see this is actually taking a look at the European model, and this one takes it to a landfall point of right around Wilmington, or what's this down here? This is Bald Head Island, I believe, down here. Yeah, Bald Head Island, and then actually it takes it back over water and makes a second landfall on Sunday morning in near Charleston, South Carolina. Now, this is the only model that was showing this. But you see what it did. This is devastating, going right along the coast, paralleling the coast, just battering Myrtle Beach all the way down to Charleston, and then it finally makes a left hook and comes inland. So that's one possibility. I don't want to doubt the European model because it's been on the right idea, right path for several days now, kind of taking us in to this general area for a landfall where the GFS is up here doing all kinds of nonsense up here by Virginia Beach and Lupin and God knows what. But this was the first to lead the way on the landfall point, and it was actually had this landfall point at day 5. So it's very close to that. So I don't want to doubt this just yet and say, oh, that's probably garbage. There are some models like the new high-res NAM that came in this evening that brings it a little in a very similar area. And you can see that here, it takes it right into the Wilmington area right here. And this is actually a little faster than the other models. This is bringing it in Thursday late evening, so close to midnight. Has a landfall here. This is actually 10 p.m. I'm looking at right here. And that is taking you right into the Wilmington area. And then instead of going southwest from here, it decides to go inland and then heads over into northeastern South Carolina from there, dropping tremendous amounts of rainfall. So you will have the tremendous rainfall regardless, but if this stays just offshore, the importance of that is that if it stays just offshore, it's still going to weaken as it moves southwest along the coast and parallels it. The problem is it's going to take longer to weaken. If it goes over land, it's going to weaken quicker. All right, and if it weakens quicker, that's a good thing. All right, and we don't need a second landfall down in Charleston. I'm sure they would pass on that idea. All right, so that's what the NAM High Res is doing this evening. Again, there's a lot of different solutions. It doesn't really matter exactly where the landfall point is going to be because there's so much coastline here that's going to be battered in North Carolina, and that's anywhere here from Bald Head Island, and this is Wilmington right here. I want to say this is Topsail Beach, if I remember correctly. It's been a while for the geography part. I know this is Morehead City, and this is Cape Lookout. So these anywhere along here, I think, is your landfall point. But all around that eye, obviously, there's a big wind field, so you're going to have a lot of damage all up and down the coast. Not just from wind, but the surge, obviously, is number one, and the flooding, number two. That's not just going to go away no matter what the hurricane does. If it continues to weaken or not, you're still going to have those top two killers. And worst parts of the hurricane still there. All right, so here's the infrared satellite image, and you can see all the north side looks great outflow to it. South side's what's going on here? There's nothing really here south of the system, and that's because it took a beating today with dry air coming into the south side, and that's because there was an upper level low feature that was right here. It was not supposed to be there. I'm going to show you. Let me show the image. Where is it? There it is. This is the European model where it had it projected to be at 8 p.m. last evening. Instead, at 8 p.m., it was up here. Okay, that's a big difference because this upper level low presence that's here was then allowed to, obviously it spins around like this. So the flow around here is like this from the south side of this or of the upper level low, and that dry air was getting wrapped into the system here. So when you look at the satellite image, that's why you have this ragged look on the south side, and you had an exposed eye, and all this dry air getting in and trained in the system just kind of pulled it apart a little bit. Now that is safely south to the southwest. This might regenerate a little bit. Actually, the latest frames here are showing you a little bit of regeneration now that the upper level low is down here by Miami this evening. And I can tell you where you can even see where it is for yourself. See this little spin right here? This is going back a couple hours now, but see that spin, counterclockwise spin? That's the upper level low, and it was moving off to the southwest. It was expected to do that quicker, and since it didn't, the southern side was exposed, and you had a little bit of, obviously damage done to the southern half. So it's already done its damage and done its dirty deed. It's down here east of Miami this evening, but here's your hurricane, still moving off to the west-northwest. It was moving a little bit north of the original path, but it's now starting to be pulled to the west-northwest, and that's in part because this upper-level low is forcing that to turn a little bit more with that flow around it. So double-edged sword. It was pulling up a little bit higher along the coastline. That's why I said we were going to put maybe Morehead City, Cape Lookout, places like that still in play, Topsail Beach for that landfall. But it's not really as important because the surge is going to be the most important thing. And the north side of the system is what is strongest, and that is what's coming right into the coastline. So this is still a very dangerous storm. Now, we know that it's going to stall and not come further north. Everybody's like, oh, no, it's going to come up to the Delmarva. Well, probably not. And then actually, no, it won't. As we take a look at the upper air analysis on the European model, you can see this big ridge that did connect to the one out here. This is a ridge that built in over the top. This was the ridge right here that was guiding it into the coastline. This has done its job as far as getting it to the coast. But now this ridge is built over the top of the system, and we can see that on the SVC meso analysis. It is there, so it's not like it's modeled to be there and it's not. It definitely is there. So it is going to slow it up dramatically as it gets close to the coastline. And then once this disappears, if we go to the next, let me go to the next frame here. That's going to disappear because you have a little shortwave trough coming in here from this direction. It's going to come down in here and destroy this ridge that was here. And a new one right here is not much. See this little ridge right here? See that circle right here? That's your ridge, and it's going to have enough of an effect where it's going to push this off to the south after it stalls. So we know it's going to go to the south or southwest because that's a flow around this high pressure, just like this. So that's what's going to be forcing it down to the southwest. It can't continue further north to our area or up to the Delmarva because you have this huge ridge up here. This is blocking it. You can't go through that. Okay, so physics is still at play here. I don't care how hard or how strong this hurricane gets, it can't plow through that ridge. And it's still guided by these features, like this ridge here is what's going to force it down to the south. It might be more west-southwest and it comes inland across South Carolina like the NAM showed, or it could just go further along the coast here and go further south along the coastline and make landfall further south down a second time down near Charleston, South Carolina, like the European model shows, and that's what's here. We're going to be interested in what happens next week, though, because the European model, for one, takes this remnant rainfall right up the spine of the Appalachians. Now, this isn't a much weakened state now in terms of wind. There's probably not a lot of wind with this left here at this point, but you bring some heavy rain across our region, which will be some fun stuff. I'm sure we're all standing in line waiting for all that rain to come into our area next week. This is just one model run, though. The run before that had it further south. GFS has it moving further north. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, because we had so much rain this summer, we seem to be a rain magnet, that we're probably going to get hit with some remnant rainfall. Hopefully it's not this heavy as shown here by the European model. But the good news about this is it's being picked up by a trough, so it should move out pretty quickly. But you can get a good 8-10 hours of a good soaking and get a good quick 2 to 5 inches of rain out of this as it moves off to the north and east. And this would be next Tuesday and Tuesday night if that were to occur. That's our target window right now for any remnants. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to track directly over us. Could be south of us, could be north of us. And if it does go north, you're just going to have to see this cold front with it. It's almost like it's turned extra tropical, post-tropical, so it's going to have a cold front feature with it. And then it's going to kick that out. If this ends up north, we'll just get the cold front part of it, and you only get a half inch of rain, which would be great. And that's somebody else's problem up further north, upstream. But there are going to be remnants that has to go somewhere. Whether or not it hits us now next Tuesday and Tuesday night remains to be seen. But we're going to update that in the future videos and focus less on Florence now that it's going to be making landfall. Mostly either late tonight or Friday morning. I'm Eastern PA with Authority Meteorologist Bobby Marchus. That is your outlook for September 13th, 2018.